We begin with the latest from Bangladesh. The country is set to vote tomorrow in its first parliamentary elections since the ousting of former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina in August 2024. Nearly 127 million Bangladeshis are eligible to vote. Latest scenes from Dhaka showed packed trains and buses as voters leave the capital to return to their hometowns to cast their ballots.
I'm going home Kishoreganj to vote, and I will vote for the first time. I am so excited. I was a voter before as well, but I didn't go to vote as the election was not fair. This time, I'll vote for the first time, and that's why I am very excited.
As this time, it will be a fair election, hopefully. That's why I am going home. I didn't go home to vote before. That's why the interest is more this time.
Young voters aged 18 to 37 make up 44% of the electorate. Many were at the forefront of the protests that ultimately led to the ousting of Sheikh Hasina. They're now a decisive bloc in this election and are approaching tomorrow's vote with a mix of hope, skepticism and demands for change.
We want a government that shows unconditional love for the state, takes responsibility for its people, and protects the country from extortionists. Law and order must be strengthened and applied equally to everyone. The judiciary must also remain impartial.
But the security situation remains a central concern. More than 150,000 security personnel have been deployed nationwide. Authorities say more than half of polling stations have been flagged as being vulnerable to violence. Army vehicles have been stationed outside polling centres, and many Bangladeshis are fearing that violence could overshadow tomorrow's vote.
There is still a fear, especially for women, if it's going to be safe or not to go to the center, since we have a perception that Jamaat-e-Islami-led might come to power this time. There are still questions about whether it is safe for women to go and vote.
Well, security fears are especially acute among Bangladesh's 13 million Hindus, the country's largest religious minority. In the latest attack, a Hindu businessman was hacked to death in the Mehman Singh district. At least 70 people were killed in sectarian violence last year. Rights groups reported more than 500 attacks on minorities in 2025. Hindu residents say they're hoping for peace to prevail.
It's a bit different this time. We will vote only if it remains peaceful. We just need one thing from the administration: to provide security, as we feel afraid during the elections.
And with Hasina's Awami League barred, the main contest is between Tariq Rahman's Bangladesh Nationalist Party and an alliance spearheaded by Jamaat-e-Islami. Jamaat, which was banned by Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's government, is contesting again after its registration was restored last year under the Muhammad Yunus-led interim administration.
The root cause of every misdeed and corruption is the lack of justice. If there was justice, then the looters, corrupt people, couldn't safely escape after taking people's money from the banks.
What we need at the moment in the country is peace, stability. To bring stability, we need peace. So that's why personally I believe that revenge will not bring us anything good. Rather, it will destroy many things.
Well, both major camps have backed a referendum on sweeping democratic reforms known as the July Charter, which proposes term limits for prime ministers, an upper house of parliament and stronger institutional checks to prevent a return to one-party dominance. Bangladesh citizens will also vote for this referendum tomorrow, and voting will be held for Bangladesh Parliament's 299 of 300 directly elected seats, with 50 additional seats reserved for women and allocated proportionally. Any party or alliance with 151 seats will be eligible to form the government. For many voters, especially the young, this election is about more than choosing a government. It's about restoring faith in democracy. But that promise of restoration is already being tested. The ban on Sheikh Hasina's Awami League has triggered fresh concerns. Critics argue that excluding one of the country's largest political forces sidelines a significant section of voters. It risks reinforcing the very cycle of political exclusion that has long deepened divisions in Bangladesh. So the question tomorrow is not just who will win, but whether the country can turn the page on its turbulent past and deliver the free, fair and inclusive election that millions say they have waited for long enough. Well, for more on this, we're joined by Fahmida Khatun, Executive Director of the Centre for Policy Dialogue in Bangladesh, live from Dhaka. Welcome to the programme. Let me ask you first then, put simply, how do you see the vote going in terms of who might actually prevail?
This election is being watched as a major test of Bangladesh's democratic rebound after the mass uprising in 2024 July. So far, various polls and also the sentiment shows that the two parties, basically two groups, one group led by Bangladesh Nationalist Party, led by its chairman, Mr. Tariq Rahman, and the other group is Islamist coalition led by Jamaat-e-Islami. So these are basically seen contesting with each other, but various survey polls have also indicated that BNP is generally appears to be the front runner because of its organizational network, long-standing, presence in Bangladeshi politics, past history of its running the country, and also an appeal among the traditional voters, including many former supporters of other parties as well. And there is also another factor that the voting outcome will also depend to a large extent on the young voters and also the women voters. So one will have to see that what will be the turnout in the end, because that will be a determining factor of the final outcome.
Right, you mentioned the young voters there in particular. Will these elections, do you think, prevent the kind of protests that we saw, especially when it comes to that section of society?
You see, the July uprising was basically a lot of demand from the young voters and the people of the country, though it started with the abolition of quota system, but in the end, it was about establishing a free and fair society, a corruption-free society, an equal society, an inclusive society. So if whichever party comes to power, that party will have to run the country in view of this demand of the people, and mostly by the young people who actually did not have the opportunity to take part in the voting. Many of them could not vote, and many of them are also the first-time voters. So they obviously have a very high expectation from the incoming government.
And what about some of the violence that we've seen against minorities then? What needs to be done to stem that tide?
You see, in the run-up to the elections, the security and law and enforcing situation has been tightened quite, significantly, so that there is no violence. It's not only attacks on the religious minorities, but the election violences, which are not uncommon in South Asian context. So this time, like previous times also, we have seen stronger enforcement of law and order situation, especially in areas where the likelihood of violences are higher than the other areas. So there is also a clear messaging from the law enforcing agencies, from the government, to maintain discipline and peace during the voting system. So it is expected that the overall sentiment and overall environment of the voting will be peaceful, so that there's no unwanted situation, so that voters can vote without any fear. And also, this is not only during vote, but after the vote, after the election results are announced. So that also is in the minds of the government.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Famida Khatun, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you.
Power doesn't end quietly. Some deaths are not accidents. They are messages. A gunshot. A crowd. A country frozen. The killer disappears. The questions don't. This is not just about who died. It's about what followed. Governments fell. Armies moved. History rewrote itself. 5 leaders. 5 moments. One pattern. The assassination.